welcome back to Targeted. Today, I have something that has blown up recently.
But his arrest is certainly a devastating fall for a man who once walked with prime ministers and was treated as the very best of Australia.
A former Australian Defence Force member has today been arrested and will be charged with 5 counts of war crime murder. The offence of war crime murder carries a maximum penalty of life imprisonment.
I'm Atlas Aultman. This is Targeted Podcast, and today we're talking about Ben Robert Smith.
Ben Robert Smith.
Of Australia. Here is the then Governor-General investing Robert Smith with our highest military award, the Victoria Cross.
How proud we are of you. How much you mean to us. You bring our hearts to soar.
Ben Robert Smith is an Australian war hero. He has been time and time again praised for his actions in Afghanistan. In fact, his Victoria Cross, which is like our Medal of Honor in the United States, reads something like this. Corporal Robert Smith's most conspicuous gallantry in a circumstances of extreme peril was instrumental to the seizure of the initiative and the success of the troop against a numerically superior enemy's force. His valor was an inspiration to the soldiers with whom he fought alongside and is in keeping with the finest traditions of Australian Army and the Australian Defence Force. This was given for gallantry in action in hazardous circumstances as a patrol sniper in Special Operations Task Force while deployed in Operation Slipper Rotation 3, Afghanistan, May through September 2006. The problem we have is Ben Robert Smith, war hero, is the latest in the line of people who are of the warrior culture that is being attacked by a society that thinks they no longer need them. In the event of a nation state attacking Australia, I'm sure they would give the man a rifle and pull him out of prison and say, hey, we need your help. And when you think about this holistically, what kind of future force are you making with allegations like this? No one wants to go to war anyways. I hear it all the time. Yeah, I would have served, but well, why didn't you? Why didn't you go in the military? Recruiter's office is open to everyone. Don't give me the excuse. If you don't serve, you don't serve, and it's not for everyone. Not everyone needs to be in war either. But this man was. Ben Robert Smith was a warrior's warrior. In 2006, he was given the Victoria Cross, the highest honor. He met with Queen Elizabeth II. He was cleared for that award, and that meeting. And having worked for the President of the United States directly, I know that anyone who gets near those type of people gets a full vetting before they're allowed to do that. So why are these allegations just now coming out? So he's being charged of potential war crimes, murder, unarmed civilians in Afghanistan. He's being charged 12 April 2009 and location Whiskey 108. And 2012, he's being charged with the Darwan incident in San Chao in September and October. Murder. This isn't a military case because he's not active duty military, which probably explains why he was given the celebrity treatment when he was arrested in front of his twin daughters and then barraged in front of the press like it's something that was coming. This man was honorable and tried to defend his honor for a very long time because they tried to slander him. What kind of innocent man does that? He's not going to be held in a military court because this is a civilian matter now. If he was active duty, still in the military, he would be treated similar to the way the original ones were. So let's talk about what that looks like. In order to fully understand what war crimes are, let's go back to the first one ever. Peter von Hagenbach was a knight. He was appointed as a governor. This was in 1474, folks. The Holy Roman Empire allowed for him to be tried. because he allowed murder, rape, and pillage. His defense, I was just following orders. What happened? He was beheaded. That's how serious this is. It started off with someone dying because that rape, murder, pillage, that happens in war, but it shouldn't. And it should be a criminal offense. So that is the extreme. That's where we start. When every time we hear war crime, we're hearing those type of actions. Not Ben Robert Smith, who arrives on the scene after someone who's supposed to be our friend murders his friends. His teammates are trying to gasp for their last breath while he tries to go after the person that just did the damage. He takes off his armor and swims across the river trying to find the guy who did this. A guy with a rifle shooting at him. He takes that man's life, turns out to not be the guy who actually did the killing. But you put yourself in that situation. You arrive on scene after something bad happened. Your mates are gone. Your teammates are out. Then you go into what? Shock mode? No, you go into mission mode. And you've been a warrior for, well, you just got the Victoria Cross 3 years ago for the first instance, because in 2006 is when he got the Victoria Cross. The first instance that they're investigating is in 2009. So you think he has a little bit of experience? Yeah, I'd say so. And then 2012 is 3 years after that. So that's 6 years later. So he's very experienced at this point on what to do in any situation like this. So what does the Australian government do? They go after a campaign. They spend millions of dollars putting billboards up in Afghanistan, a country ruled by the people who are not holding anybody to war crimes, by the way. They're not looking for anybody. They live in the country where the war crimes probably existed. If you think detainees and prisoners and wars are just part of one operation or one combat or one war, you're wrong. They happen on both sides. And that's what makes this so crazy. The terrorists that we were fighting in Afghanistan, and I know this because this helmet right here, before it became a wall ornament, was the helmet that I wore in Afghanistan during my last tour there. And who was I with? Australian Special Forces, the NATO Special Forces, the UK Special Forces, and Special Operations Unit. I was directly supporting them as one of the leads for something that we did with communications and technology. I had to talk to all of them, and they were all very high speed and low drag. They all had integrity. They all had strength and stamina. I asked AI, I said, hey, what are the characteristics of special operations community? And it gave me something amazing. I'm going to give the 10 to you right now. It said that special operations members are selected and trained for missions that demand far more than basic military capabilities. Their effectiveness comes across in a combination of mental, physical, and interpersonal attributes, to include mental toughness, staying calm under pressure, right? Number 2, discipline and work ethic, being self-motivated and detail-oriented. Number 3, adaptability, thinking critical, making decisions fast, which is what we're seeing here. Number 4, physical fitness and endurance. I just told you one of the instances that required that. Exceptional strength, stamina, and mobility. Number 5, teamwork and trust, strong communication skills, dependability, ability to lead or follow when needed. Number 6, emotional control, controlling fear, controlling anger, controlling stress responses. Number 7, intelligence and situational awareness, awareness of your surroundings at all times. Number 8, initiative and leadership, leading small teams effectively, but taking action without waiting for orders when others may do that when it's not needed. Number 9, humility and quiet confidence, confidence without arrogance, which is a very fine line for a lot of people. And number 10, which is the cornerstone, the foundation, what people look at in these communities and what's being charged and tainted right now. Integrity. Strong moral and ethical foundation in all of the people I've ever met in the special operations community. Accountability for actions, trustworthiness in sensitive operations. All of this points to a higher level and a higher standard. We've not always seen this. In Vietnam's, for example, people came back from Vietnam and they were spat on. They were cursed at. They were not treated well because we started to publish things in the news and the TVs were putting war into the living room. And if you've never seen war, you've never experienced war, it's not for everyone. I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. The things that I've seen, I don't talk about. And I haven't been on the front lines kicking in doors like Ben Robert Smith was. This man was a war hero. The training that he gave us is now on the world stage. It's this. If you do what you're supposed to do in a high stakes, very fast environment, there's a good chance that the nation that once celebrated you is now going to chastise you. What are we telling our kids? What's going on here? What kind of nations do we live in? Whenever our war heroes are celebrated 1 minute and then taken to prison in front of their daughters the next. A father of the year. Now, potential war criminal. If there's a war crime, prove it. And then put him in handcuffs and then put him in jail. But Australia's law system works very similar to ours. You are innocent until proven guilty. Yet he's being treated like he's guilty and trying to prove his innocence. I hate this. But one of the stories I got to go into is Lieutenant Calley. Lieutenant William Calley in Vietnam was given the order that no one likes to get, but he took it to heart and took it to a village. For a while, his people were getting shot at. They were getting sniped. They were falling into booby traps. They were getting landmined. He lost 15-30% of his people. And then one day he got the order, take out the village. It's causing this destruction. So they celebrated it and they woke up really early. And under the element of surprise, they caught women and children who were getting ready for their day. That was the My Lai 1968 massacre. And he was tried as a war criminal. He was found guilty, sentenced to life in prison, which he served a couple years under house arrest until Nixon, the president at the time, said to pardon him. Because Nixon was the commander-in-chief, and that was a UCMJ, that was a courts-martial, a military trial. The president had the authority to do that, and he walked free. And Lieutenant Calley was considered a scapegoat by many, and that's why the president made that decision. Later, the correspondent, the person in the press who exposed this story, says that he talked to more of the teammates and that they all suffered from what they did mentally. That's a war crime. That's a war crime, and it's part of the history. And people attach the fog of war to that, and they say, you just don't know what's going to happen. And in this case, they don't know. That's an unfortunate case, but it's totally 180 from what we're seeing with Ben Robert Smith. Ben Robert Smith didn't have that. He had some people in his team that said some different things, but there's a lot of things that get said. If you're looking at recent history, you might want to look at Eddie Gallagher's story. There's a series called The Line. It's a 4-part series. 2 parts of it paint the story of Eddie being a warrior and protecting his team, and the other 2 parts paint him as a guilty war criminal. Eddie was acquitted, and He's a SEAL. He's on a lot of podcasts lately. I might try to get him on this show. But Eddie was turned in by two of his SEAL teammates because they didn't feel that what he did was justified. And if you've watched the series, I'm not gonna tell you there's a right and a wrong, but what I will tell you is it explains the mindset behind what warriors have to experience. And again, war is not for everyone. And those that have to make the decision to take life, they don't do it lightly. There's a lot of things that cause a lot of things, a lot of emotions that get stirred up whenever you're experience life and death, first person, every day, for long periods of time. But wait, there's more. Ben Robert Smith is being highlighted because he is a national treasure in Australia. He did what his nation asked him to do, and he fought terrorism. And the terrorists are fighting back using the billboards and the money that was given to them by taxpayer dollars on the Australian side. My personal opinion. They're probably not going to find anything. But that will prove without a reasonable doubt that he did anything other than the actions that he needed to do to stay alive. But let's go to SAS in the UK. See, Ben Robert Smith was part of the SAS, and Australia and the UK have a very similar program. In fact, I believe they switch borders if they want. They can go from the UK to Australia or the opposite. And the UK, according to a Guardian article, investigated 10 Brits accused of committing war crimes just last year. And most recently, 2 SAS members. This was due to testimony that was given by a high ranking officer who said, you know what, that might be suppressing evidence. Let's look into it. Now, we are at the end of Iraq and Afghanistan. The war on terror is coming to a close in the history book that we all have lived for a very long time. And I understand Iran is going on right now. And I understand that Iran is going on right now. But Iran, Afghanistan, Iraq, they're all different. If you can see through the perspective of the media today what's going on, you'll see that warriors around the world are being challenged. When a nation no longer needs a warrior, they don't understand the warrior and they don't want to. The warrior mindset that comes through is one of all of the attributes that I listed earlier. But the hardest thing to do, is to look at what we're seeing and realize the need of warriors will never go away. The popular saying is it's better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in war. And as men, you need to stand up for what's right. If you're in Australia, you can't let this die. This is not going to be quick. Ben Robert Smith is facing years of trials. The evidence that's collected against him is only going to spin into more evidence. And if you haven't seen, they have 53 other cases that the Office of Special Investigations in Australia is investigating. 53. BRS is 47 years old. He joined the military in 1996. That is when I entered basic training as well. We both served in Afghanistan. We both saw the same enemy in different lights. We both faced trials and tribulations of a society that no longer values what we did. We're going to forever go down into history as losing a war that was not lost on the battlefield. And when you don't win, well, what good are you? The reality of this is deeper than what we're reading in the headlines. The reality of this is men don't have to be men. And I talked about this in a previous episode multiple times, where men have the option to play video game war heroes or be war heroes, and they're choosing the video games. Men have the option to be strong and fit and know how to fight, or to play like they know how to fight by pressing buttons that does the move perfectly. Men have the option to go and do things in life, yet the screens that are in front of them capture them and become their life. If there's one thing I want everyone to know from this episode, it's that your decisions that you make, they shape who you are. Decisions compound into actions. Actions compound into results. And results equate to a life that you look back on one day and decide again whether you made the right decisions or life has passed you by. It saddens me that so many people have shared with me stories of where their loved ones were spat on coming back from Vietnam. And the words, "thank you for your service," have become just like good morning, good night, and good evening. And we're teaching society a way to politely deal with warriors without understanding them. And in this case, we're going to charge Australia's highest honors soldier with war crimes before we understand exactly what that entails. It's sad to me that we've come to this place in our life where we have to look at the people who did what they had to do for us to have the things that we have, the freedoms that we take for granted, and we put them in jail. In America, we have homeless who put up signs, and they used to say, "Homeless vet, please help." Recently, I still see homeless, but they've lost the veteran flair because it no longer works. Nobody cares. Nobody cares that you're a veteran. Nobody cares that you served your country. Nobody cares that you miss birthdays, that you miss special events, your kids walking, that you may have thrown away your family, your friends, your loved ones. You may have missed your mom's last day because you had to do a mission that no one cares about. People trying to shoot you, people trying to blow you up with their own kids. Explosions, rockets, mortars, gunfire, all part of the chaos that you called life for decades. If you're like me, all of that has happened. If you're like BRS, Ben Robert Smith, all of that has happened times 100. He's in jail. It's sickening. It's sad. It's unacceptable. And you need to know about it so that you can sign a petition. You can try to get him help. Warriors need to band together and try to help BRS. Ben Robert Smith, definitely did what he needed to do for his country. There's no way around it. And now his country and his community, to include this global community of warriors, needs to come in and try to support him as much as possible.
It's important because it needs to be done.
You're prepared to die?
Very much so. And I only say that, I don't mean that in a theatrical sense, or I'm not being silly about it. I know what we're doing is actually stemming the flow of terrorism into this country. I know that. So for me and for everyone at my unit, if that was to happen, as with Matt, we don't consider it, a waste, as some people say, or that it was fruitless. It serves a purpose. And if I go away and I was to get killed on the next trip, and that was the way that my life was meant to play out, then so be it. At least I've done it serving my country.
I'm going to put a link in the show notes. If you're from Australia, you can go out and sign a petition that I found. But I need you to do something. Talk about it, comment about it, because an actual war crime that was committed is definitely worth investigating. But I just don't think that that's this instance.
And making this country that we love, all of us, a better place for our children.
You see a direct relationship between what you do and making us safer?
Certainly. Definitely.
Thanks, Ben.
Pleasure.
It was great, mate.
And it's going to take years for him to get through that process. He doesn't deserve it. His kids don't deserve it. Australia doesn't deserve it. The SAS definitely doesn't deserve it. We're a very honorable organization. So with that, put in your comments. What do you think? How should this be handled? Thousands on my other social medias have stated their voice, their distaste, their experiences. Let's continue to make noise and see how this war hero can be redeemed, and see if we can't figure out the truth for Ben Robert Smith. I'm Atlas Aultman. Until next time, aim for excellence and stay on target.
Stay with us as we stay on target with another awesome episode coming up next. We'll see you there. And subscribe to Targeted now.
Entrepreneurs, you're wasting money. Are you paying for TV, radio, maybe even newspapers? I gotta tell you, that's all dead. What's new? Well, I'm glad you asked, Atlas. It's podcasting. Just so happens I have a very successful podcast that I can put you on. And we're looking for guests. So if you have a product or service that will help people, hit us up. Atlas Aultman, Targeted Podcast. We bring new audiences to new people, and we bring new people to, well, you check us out.